friends, a very good morning to all of you. Welcome to your program, The News Analysis. Today is Saturday, January 10th. The first third of the month is gone, a month of 31 days. The situation is still something to keep a close eye on, right? Let's see, where do we start with this? Yesterday, the head of the Protectorate met with the representatives of the oil companies. During the meeting, among other important things, he told them that he himself will be responsible for managing the oil business, specifically the Venezuelan oil business. He also made it clear that the oil companies do not have to and should not deal directly with the government of Mrs. Delcy Rodriguez. Some companies like Chevron immediately agreed to expand operations in Venezuela, although they say they can double their production in 15 to 24 months. That is the date. Mark that date, or when Trump said there will be elections in Venezuela, when it is fixed. That's where it's going. That's where things are headed. Companies like Exxon said they have no guarantees to invest in Venezuela and that there have to be legal changes. And I imagine that the order was already given or at least communicated, because when Mr. Jorge Rodriguez mentioned that they are going to make new codifications, that statement will likely serve as the main argument to change the hydrocarbon law and provide all the necessary facilities to the companies and all the legal securities to the North American oil companies so that they can invest in Venezuelan territory. Mr. Trump stated that the amount is about $100 billion. The figure seems exaggerated to me, but we will see along the way if they really invest $100 billion. That would be an additional external debt to the $160 billion we have. The Venezuelan external debt would reach incorporating those $100 billion from the oil companies, because they will want to collect that, right? That investment. Companies like ConocoPhillips said that they were owed $12 billion. Mr. Trump said, turn that page, you collect that with crude oil or with exemptions, I imagine, from taxes. Therefore, he is going to absolutely and completely govern, oversee, and control our only truly relevant and significant industry, which, as everyone knows, is the oil industry, the backbone of our economy. So that is what we have to deal with at this moment in time. As they say, it is what it is, and there is not much more to add. He again addressed Maria Corina with a phrase like this, using words such as "that young lady," referring to her in a somewhat dismissive manner, as he has done before in previous statements. I'm going to receive her, the one who won the Nobel Prize, that young lady. Yes, I'm going to receive her around then, Wednesday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Yes, I'm going to receive her. She's coming to show respect for the country. No, she's coming to show it to me, as I am the country's representative. He went back to it. I don't know why. With that attitude, it's the resentment over the Nobel Prize. No, it can't be such a long-held grudge, but he keeps treating her that way, like that young lady who's coming around. January 10th, World Bird Day. Venezuela celebrates World Bird Day this January 10th. This is our On This Day segment. And that is why the National Parks Institute, an entity attached to the Ministry of People's Power for Eco-Socialism and Water, joins in these festivities, whose main objective is to bring the world of birds and their habitats closer to the general public. On January 10th, in the year 1860, over in the small town of San Carlos de Cojedes, which is located in Venezuela, Ezequiel Zamora, a prominent leader, was tragically assassinated, the so-called General of the Sovereign People. He was shot while standing at the entrance or on the facade of a church there in San Carlos de Cojedes. He, along with the others who accompanied him, as well as those on the opposing side, led Venezuela into a conflict known as the Federal War. This war brought upon us the second great ruin that we experienced in the 18th century. The first ruin was the War of Independence, and the second ruin was the Civil War, which was different from the War of Independence. The Civil War was the Federal War was absolutely a civil war between Venezuelans. On January 10th, 1920, the Treaty of Versailles came into force, a peace treaty that was signed at the end of the First World War by more than 50 countries. This treaty officially ended the state of war that had existed between Germany of the Second Reich and the Allies of the First World War. However, in my opinion, it also sowed the seeds for the Second World War, giving Germany a truly terrible, truly harsh treatment, reducing it to the status of a vassal state, a nation forced to accept humiliating terms and conditions, essentially making it a vassal state. Our headlines for today, my dear friends. Trump says that for the moment, Delcy Rodriguez's government seems to be an ally. What do you think? A few days ago, the news was given to us by Luis Suarez that faced with the danger of being confiscated, a bunch of ships, some loaded and others not, broke their moorings and left Venezuela. This ship, one of these ships that was detained yesterday and returned to a Venezuelan port in collaboration, it's the first collaboration of its kind that has occurred at the request of Delcy Rodriguez's government. The United States rescued the ship that had left without paying. It had left without paying. That's how things were going. Wow, what a tremendous lack of control, right? Well, in any case, the ship is on its way to port if it hasn't already arrived. The government, I don't know why they call it an interim government, because Delcy Rodriguez's government is not an interim government. I don't know why journalists or some journalists christened it as an interim government. Well, in any case, it confirms the arrival of the diplomatic delegation from the United States to Venezuela. Yesterday, an American plane from the State Department brought high-ranking officials, among them Mr. McNamara. But then an American military plane arrived, I imagine, with things for the embassy. A group of vehicles entered the embassy. The American flag was raised once again in Valle Arriba. So now we don't know, because if there's one thing we don't know, it's which one is the embassy. If the new Miraflores Palace is Valle Arriba and the embassy or the headquarters of the Captaincy General is Miraflores, or if Miraflores is the seat of government and the embassy is the embassy, we don't know. It's very difficult, very complex to understand this Venezuelan mess. It's a tremendous thing. Venezuela reiterates that it is a victim of criminal aggression. According to statements, they are obviously continuing with the same old story. In fact, yesterday in Maracaibo, there was a march. Maduro is coming back. Maduro is coming back. Well, that's fine. They're going to have 10,000 of those marches. It seems to me that Maduro is not coming back, and that the operating agreement with the American authorities, I've scared away from the chat all the Maduro supporters we had here in the chat. Almost all of them disappeared, if not all of them. How about that, huh? The emotional impact it has had on those people it's complex, isn't it? Mrs. Rodriguez states that the decision to open embassies with the United States is to denounce the aggression of January 3rd. I don't understand that part. It seems to me it's a message, just gibberish, something that's not very clear. Opening the embassy is to denounce the aggression of January 3rd. A few days later, 7 days after they invaded and bombed you, instead of breaking off relations, you open an embassy. And so you open an embassy.